a lot of people, when you try to engage them in recovery or moving into treatment, they want to focus on everything except the alcohol and other drugs. They always have reasons, they always have excuses, there are always payoffs for why they were doing what they were doing. And they're really heavily invested and they have this internal dialogue going on. And so let's start with using the term the inner saboteur. It's less intrusive than saying deny it. So part of normalizing and depathologizing is using other words to talk about what's really going on. And the use of stories and metaphors can be very powerful when you're implementing this denial management process. So I'm going to give you some examples, and I like to use, get people engaged in their right and left brain when I'm working with them. So a lot of people have this internal conflict going on, you know, all the voices, all the different ways of thinking and feeling are going on inside. And we don't see any of that. We can see some of the clues, though, by people's body language, their affect, what their words they're using, the tone of voice they're using, etc. But we don't really know what's going on inside. So a lot of people inside may look like this, you know, and the dialogue is crazy. It's like this very loud orchestra playing off key and screaming, and you're trying to sit there and engage in a rational didactic process. And when this internal dissonance is going on, that's going to be very challenging. So, you know, we have to find ways to overcome that. By the way, a lot of these slides I'm showing you today are ones that I have used not just for training people, but in programs that I've run and worked in over the years, because they give the visual part of the message and it helps sink in some of the message for people a lot more clearly. So one of my dad's favorite stories, he was into a lot of Native American stuff, and he liked the story of the two wolves, you know, the evil wolf and the good wolf. And when you look at this paradigm here, you know, you see all the traits of the evil wolf and all the traits of the good wolf. And so the story goes that this old grandfather was talking to his two young grandson braves who were about to go on their first mission. And he was telling them about the wolf and all the components and everything. And one of the grandsons says, well, grandfather, which wolf is going to win? And the grandfather says, well, that's very simple. It's the one that you feed the most. Now, when people are in the grips of an addictive disorder, substance use disorder, the evil side easily takes control and it drowns out the other side. So we need to help people see this, that help them restore some balance. Another way of thinking about it is the monkey mind. This is an ancient Zen concept that goes back thousands of years, but it can be looked at like the monkey is always hypervigilant. It's always scanning the environment, and it's typically swinging from worry to doubt to fear. And in more modern terms, we would call it the amygdala limbic system, the fight, flight, freeze, the survival brain. But this is the hardwired part of us, you know, the lizard brain. And it perceives danger that may not really be danger. It's operating at the intellectual and emotional reasoning of a 3 to 4 year old. So when we're in our monkey mind, we're not operating at very high efficiency at all. And this is very challenging. So when you're working with someone that's always this hypervigilant, swinging from worry to doubt to fear, you know, you have to have some tools. You have, especially taking time outs, getting stress levels down. We'll talk more about how to do that a little bit later in the presentation. So for me, you know, when I try to normalize and depathologize, nobody is born all, quote, armored up or full of denial. It's a pattern that develops over years. And for me, the metaphor I like to use, over the years, I developed some very strong, powerful, but dysfunctional suits of armor. When I was between 5 and 7 years old, I developed a way to protect me against some early childhood trauma, physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. So I armored up, I was covered up. And the intention was to keep myself safe. But what it also did was it kept people away. Then when I hit about 12, 13 years old, something shifted. I came from a very dysfunctional alcoholic family system, and drinking was very normal. But age 12, I injured myself and was introduced to pain pills. And this was the next level of armor. I learned that not just the pain pills, but mixing the pain pills with alcohol was very powerful. So when I was injured at age 12, I was playing sandlot football, got knocked into a concrete post, and rushed to the emergency room. I don't know exactly what they injected me with. It was probably Demerol or something like it. But I do remember they sent me home with Tylenol codeine. And it had an unanticipated effect with me. Yes, it stopped the physical pain, but what it also stopped was the emotional pain from my ongoing trauma, stress, and anxiety. I'm the oldest of 9 boys, and I was always having to be the one that's in charge of my brothers. And if they got in trouble, well, not only did they get punished, but I got punished for letting them get in trouble. And so I was parentified. It became a very family hero, protector, and everything. And when I took that medication for the first time in my young life, I felt at peace. So that was armoring up. And then when I learned, I kept seeing on the bottle, and I learned something very powerful, because there was a warning label on the bottle that says, do not use alcohol with this medication. And then in fine print underneath it, it said something that most people would see, and it would really reaffirm, I don't want to drink while I'm taking this. But when I saw that fine print, it was like game on, because the fine print said, alcohol may intensify the effect. And it was, yes. Now, the next suit of armor I put on was I'd added some offensive weapons. My junior and senior year in high school, I joined a very violent gang, and it wasn't like the gangs are today, but for the time in the 1960s, it was pretty bad. And, hurt people, put myself at risk and danger. And for whatever reason, I never got caught by law enforcement. And then, I was developing some really good armor and some really good offensive weapons. But then, between age 18 and 19, I joined a professional gang. It was called the United States Marine Corps. And when I moved into Special Forces Recon there, I learned some incredible new tools and some incredible new armor. Our mantra became kill, cripple, maim to survive. And this is where I put on the titanium armor. You remember everybody's seen Iron Man, right? Well, that's the image I come up with. And what I've had to do over the years is to learn how to replace this old dysfunctional self-protection methods with my functional spiritual values, practices, and principles, and teach other people to do the same. So when I share with people, I use appropriate self-disclosure, stories, and metaphors to normalize and depathologize how we build our defenses. So this is one way of looking at it, suits of armor.